Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Part 268 based on novel. So let's start. You were extroverted, handsome, and loved to show off. I fell in love with everything about you. Mu-En was also great, but he was too much like a stone. He's not my type at all. Hence, you were the one who I had loved all this while. However, I could not choose you. Zhongli Wu's father would never allow me to choose you because you were not a member of Shrek Academy. This was exactly why I was forced by him to choose Mu-En instead of you. After hearing what Yi Shishui had said, his mind turned completely blank. He had not expected the biggest misery in his life to have originated like this. Yi Shishui was still smiling, even though tears were streaming down her face. Afterward, we met again. It was during that time when I was tasked by Zhongli Wu's father to separate you. He told me how dangerous it was for the Holy Ghost Church to be up against two of the most gifted soul masters of my generation. Hence, I had to turn you against each other. That was the only way we could stop both of you from affecting the development of the Holy Ghost Church. Hence, I proposed that plan and used my body to bait you. After giving you my first time, I created a painful conflict for the three of us. However, only both of you were truly in pain. I had always known what I was doing. I was the sacred lady of the Holy Ghost Church. Ha ha ha. Why you? Long Xiaoyao pointed at Yi Shishui as he spat out blood from his mouth. Yi Shishui stared at him gently and said, Xiaoyao, please don't be angry. You will only die too quickly for me to finish what I have to say. Perhaps you will be less angry after you have heard what I have to say. After what happened then, I left. However, I did not regret what I had done. I had given my body to the person whom I truly loved. I knew that both you and Mu-En would have to live a life of misery after that. However, I had no choice. Do you know that Zhongli Wu's father would have to kill both of you if my plan had failed? Compared to watching him kill both of you, I would rather watch both of you suffer in misery. After all, you are my love, and Mu-En was a big brother whom I looked up to. How could I not know how nice he was to me? Both of you have always been incredibly important in my heart. Hence, I needed to do that to protect both of you from the Holy Ghost Church. And I succeeded. Both of you ended up becoming ultimate Dolor. Even though both of you were in pain and misery, we were at the very least still alive. Isn't that right? After a few decades, Zhongli Wu's father forced me to bear him a son before he died. He told me how that was the only way he could hand over leadership over to me without any worries. Following which, he helped me become an ultimate Dolor. That was when I completely became the enemy of Shrek Academy. As the sacred lady of the Holy Ghost Church, I could never really be with either of you. Do you know how much I wanted to be with you that time we met after Zhongli Wu's father died? However, I knew I could not. The reason is that I was already the leader of the Holy Ghost Church. As the leader among all evil soul masters, I would ruin your reputation if I were to get together with you. I could only force you to follow me and protect me. This would allow you to continue to be regarded as the Dragon Emperor Dolor instead of a member of the Holy Ghost Church. I am so happy that you have continued to follow me and protect me even after 100 years. I might be an immoral and evil soul master, but I am still human. Do you really think I cannot see the feelings you have for me? However, I didn't dare to get together with you. I couldn't bear to see your name destroyed because of me. Hence, I could not let you know about the love I have for you. Now, I can finally exclaim my love for you. Xiaoyao, I have always loved you and you alone. Even though you have followed me and suffered because of me for more than 100 years, I must tell you that I am definitely deserving of your love. The reason is that I have borne a son for you. Do you know that? What did you say? Long Xiaoyao's jaw dropped after hearing what Yi Shishui had said. His body began to tremble. A son? Shishui has borne a son for me? However, it had already been more than 100 years. Even if he was a powerful soul master, he would have probably died after 100 years. You probably did not expect that. I knew you would have been very shocked after hearing what I had to say. To be honest, just like you, I have not seen him for more than 100 years. I don't even know if he's still alive. I can't go and see him, because I can't bear to let him know that his mother is an evil soul master, and the leader of the Holy Ghost Church. I only wish for him to lead a healthy life and be a normal human being. In fact, I don't even want him to be a soul master. Hence, I gave him the surname of Yang, my surname before I joined the Holy Ghost Church. However, fate works in mysterious ways. Our grandson was actually able to get into Shrek Academy by his own merit. He eventually became a disciple of Mu En. If I had not known that his martial soul was the same as my second martial soul, the Radiant Phoenix, I would not have known that Mu En had accepted our grandchild as his disciple. In fact, Mu En did his best to nurture him, and he ended up as the dean of the martial soul department. What? Both Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong could not help but express their disbelief. If not for Yi Shishui's confession today, who would have known that Yang Xiaosha was actually Long Xiaoyao's and Yi Shishui's grandson? You're lying. You're trying to sow discord among the people within the academy. Tang Wutong exclaimed in rage. Yi Shishui smiled as she looked at Long Xiaoyao, who had already been stunned by everything she had said. Is there a need for me to sow discord when things have already come to this stage? Besides, as an ultimate dolor, do you think I have to go around and spoil relationships? I am who I am. I say what I say. Of course, I will not go around spreading lies. Xiaozhe should be our grandchild or great-grandchild, judging from his age. However, I have never tried to contact him. I have only gone to check on his bloodline and confirm that he is our descendant. Hui Yuhao pulled Tang Wutong back and shook his head. Tang Wutong simply could not believe what she was hearing. Long Xiaoyao frowned as he looked at Yi Shishui. Is this all real? I really can't believe it. Why? Why didn't you tell me all of this earlier? Yi Shishui spoke plainly. This is because I was the sacred lady of the Holy Ghost Church. I was the leader of the Holy Ghost Church. I am the supreme leader of the Holy Ghost Church. What could I have told you? I have already done so many immoral and inhuman things. I have the blood of hundreds of thousands of lives on my hands. What would have changed if I told you all of this? So that you would fall deeper in love with me? So that you would become an evil soul master? So that we would drag all of our descendants into the Holy Ghost Church? No. I could not have said all of this to you. In fact, I can't even share them with anyone else. I could only bury all of it in my heart. I can only dream of the momentary sweet moments I had in my dreams. These sweet memories are what prevent me from becoming the true destroyer of the world. Look at this. Yi Shishui raised her arms as a gentle golden flame rose around her body. This is my real trump card. No one would have expected an evil soul master with the blood soul demon puppet to possess a second martial soul. Even Zhongli Wu's father didn't know that I had this martial soul. I did my best to hide it from everyone. The people from the Holy Ghost Church would definitely kill me if they knew I had this martial soul. Hence, I have hidden it for close to 200 years. I had not expected it to be useful today. By using the Phoenix's ability to rise from the ashes, I was able to save both of our lives. Long Xiaoyao shook his head and said, I should not have entered. If it was just you alone, you might have been able to survive. You would not have had to ignite your life energy. Yi Shishui shook her head and said, no, if you hadn't entered, I would really have died. My heart would have died. I really wanted you to come in. The only reason why I chose to enter the trap willingly is that I had already become tired of this world. I needed to find a place where I could truly belong. I had planned all of this carefully. Do you think that Xu Tianran can actually trick me? Do you think his trap would have been successful if I hadn't entered willingly? I was using this last chance to see if you still loved me, just like 100 years ago. I am so glad I was right. Xiaoyao, thank you for not disappointing me. I am really, really happy. Long Xiaoyao's breathing was becoming more pained as he stared at Yi Shishui. However, he remained silent. Yi Shishui lifted her hand and stroked his face gently. What's wrong? Why are you keeping quiet? You have made my life so miserable with all your lies. Long Xiaoyao looked up into the sky and bellowed. At that instant, tears streamed from his old eyes. He would never have expected his struggles to be so meaningless. He did not know that he was bearing responsibility for a crime he had never committed. At this instant, he did not feel relieved or happy. He just felt as though he was empty. That sensation was a lot more painful than what he had gone through before. Yi Shishui spoke gently, Xiaoyao, this is our last moment together in this world. Even though our lives are ending soon, I want to be your wife from this moment onwards. Will you be my husband? From now on, you no longer have to listen to my orders. I will do whatever you ask me to do and be a good wife, all right? Long Xiaoyao stared at Yi Shishui and said, all this while, I thought that you were the person to whom I owed the greatest apology. Now, I finally realize that Mu En is the one whom we need to apologize to. He must have suffered a lot more pain than we went through. Even though he has died, he still did not know what actually happened all those years ago. You are really cruel to him. Yi Shishui sighed and said, sometimes, ignorance is bliss. We often underestimate time's ability to heal wounds. The reason why I have not visited him in all these years was so that I would not reawaken those painful memories. At the end of the day, he eventually had a family and took on responsibilities at Shrek Academy. Even if those painful memories were still a part of him, they would be but a small part of his existence. In my opinion, you suffered more by staying by my side. Long Xiaoyao turned around and looked in the direction of Shrek Academy before saying, Brother Mu, who would have known that both of us were badly mistaken about the truth back then? The Holy Ghost Church had always been our common enemy. Shishui, you are right. At the very least, I'll know what actually happened before I die. I will not die like an ignorant fool. Brother Mu, it seems like I won't be able to repay what I owe you in this life. I guess I can only make it up to you by doing a favor for your disciple. After finishing his sentence, he quickly turned around and looked at Yi Shishui. Shishui, are you really willing to follow everything I say? Yi Shishui nodded silently. Okay. Even though you won't be able to make up for everything you have done, let's try to leave something behind on this continent. Let us do something for Brother Mu. How does that sound? Yi Shishui smiled and said, I will do anything you ask me to. Long Xiaoyao turned around to face Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong. Yuhao, I had originally planned for you to look for me after you reached rank 98. Previously, Xianzi had written to me about how you had managed to form yin-yang complement soul cores. Is that true? Yin-yang complement? He actually did it? Yi Shishui was very surprised by what she heard. No wonder he was able to take down so many of our evil soul masters. He had actually managed to form yin-yang complement soul cores, something which only Di Qian has managed to accomplish. Tell me, lad, how was your body able to withstand a frightening amount of pressure? Hui Yuhao chose not to answer Yi Shishui's question. He merely nodded at Long Xiaoyao. Since you have already formed your second soul core before becoming an ultimate Dolor, this means that you will have to form your third soul core when you are pushing for rank 99. I can foresee how that will be incredibly difficult. I originally wanted to help you in your final push, but it seems like I won't have a chance to help you anymore. As I continue to weaken before I die, there is no longer any use for me to hold onto my soul power. If I were to give it to you, it might actually help you to form your third soul core. At the very least, I would actually help you to make history. However, I don't think I can live to see you reach rank 98. I guess I can only pass you the purest thing within my soul power, as well as some of the things I have comprehended in the past few years. This will be the only way I can repay Mu En. Senior Long, I can't accept this. Hui Yuhao held his hand before him. He was shocked to learn that Long Xiaoyao was actually looking for him for this. Long Xiaoyao smiled and shook his head. Don't reject my offer. This is my last wish. If you were to reject me, I won't be able to rest in peace. Besides, I would rather pass what I have cultivated to someone rather than let it disintegrate into nothing. You don't have to worry about me handing all of my soul power to you. I will only be passing you the purest and most basic thing within my soul power. I will inject this pure energy into your body and allow you to digest it slowly. At the same time, it will probably help you establish a foundation for your future third soul core. After finishing his sentence, Long Xiaoyao turned around to look at Tang Wutong. To be honest, I didn't expect you to have formed your second soul core too. Is it also a yin-yang complement soul core? Tang Wutong glanced at Hui Yuhao before nodding. Yes. I only managed to complete it with Yuhao's help. Great. That's great. Shishui, I need you to hand your soul power to this lady. This is my final request for you. We will leave our power in their hands. Yi Shishui was a little stunned, but she immediately nodded before looking at Tang Wutong. However, Tang Wutong seemed to have a different idea. She shook her head violently and said, I don't want the power of an evil soul master. Yi Shishui gave her a bitter smile before saying, I no longer have any power from my evil soul master self. In fact, all of my evil soul power, including the death god pagoda, was destroyed back at the palace. Even my blood soul demon puppet martial soul and my very own body had been destroyed. Can't you tell that I no longer have a body? I am now but a body of energy. The only reason my soul did not shatter was because my cultivation was sufficiently high. I had originally only intended to protect Xiaoyao and get him out alive. I didn't know that he was already severely injured before then. Hence, his life is also coming to an end. You can rest assured that my radiant phoenix martial soul has not been tainted with anyone's blood. It only contains the purest radiant power, which is also the kind and gentle side of me. Now, I am no longer the death god Doluo. I am but Long Xiaoyao's wife. Yi Shishui has already died. Tang Wutong frowned after hearing her words. She still could not overcome the psychological barrier in her heart. At this very instant, an extremely familiar voice rang in her head. She is right. She is no longer the death god Doluo. All of the filthy things in her body died during the explosion. Help them fulfill their final wish. Father! Tang Wutong exclaimed. Hui Yuhao, Long Xiaoyao, and Yi Shishui were shocked upon hearing what Tang Wutong had just said. It was important to note that they were all at the pinnacle of the world of soul masters. How could they not know if someone else was also present? Tang Wutong gave them an awkward smile and explained, Sorry. I suddenly remembered something my father told me. All right. I will accept it. But I won't thank you for your gift. Yi Shishui smiled. I have never asked anyone for gratitude. I am just doing what my husband wants. Xiaoyao is right. I owe Mu En too much. I'm just glad that I can do something for his disciple in the last few moments of my life. Hui Yuhao turned to face Long Xiaoyao, only to see the sincerity in his eyes. The three-eyed golden lion's skull of destiny did not give him any warning of impending danger. He knew that neither of them were trying to trick them. Senior Long, is there really no way to save you? Hui Yuhao asked sadly. Long Xiaoyao flickered and reappeared behind him. I have explained myself already. I want to die before Shishui. Sit down. As he spoke, he placed one of his hands on Hui Yuhao's shoulder. Even though he was already severely injured, the Dragon Emperor Doluo was still incredibly strong. Hui Yuhao was forced into a sitting position. Tang Wutong also sat down before Hui Yuhao as they faced one another. They could see the sadness and shock in each other's eyes. Long Xiaoyao and Yi Shishui stood behind Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong respectively. They placed their palms behind both of their backs. You two can fuse your martial souls, right? I need both of you to start cultivating, and slowly receive our soul power. Long Xiaoyao ordered. Okay. Hui Yuhao raised his palms and placed them against Tang Wutong's. At that instant, their Haodong power started to flow between them as countless little vortexes began to move between their bodies. Hui Yuhao had enveloped his spiritual detection around the four of them. Even though his intuition told him that he would not be in any danger, he knew that he should still be wary of Yi Shishui. After all, she was the most powerful evil soul master within the Holy Ghost Church. If Yi Shishui were to decide to do something bad to Tang Wutong, Hui Yuhao would immediately use his Xuanwu displacement to switch places with her. He believed that he should still be able to handle her blow, especially with the current state she was in. After a while, it seemed like Hui Yuhao's intuition was correct. Long Xiaoyao and Yi Shishui had inserted their soul power in a gentle way into both of their bodies. Long Xiaoyao exclaimed, "Yin-Yang complement soul cores are truly remarkable. They are definitely one of the miracles of our world. I have never seen such pure and condensed soul power. In fact, they have fused so well. The two soul cores complement one another while providing the necessary opposing forces to build up strength and power. This is truly the best way to train." Yi Shishui nodded and said, "That's right. Even though I had twin martial souls, I did not dare to train my radiant phoenix. I have always hidden it from everyone. If not, I might also have had a chance to form my own yin-yang complement soul cores. Who knows? They might just be able to challenge Di Qian with their human bodies if they are able to become ultimate Doluo." Long Xiaoyao smiled and said, "Then let us be a part of this miracle." Long Xiaoyao and Yi Shishui continued to channel their soul power into Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong's bodies. The soul power they were transferring did not have any elemental type. It was the purest kind of soul power. Their soul power was able to immediately fuse with the Haodong power without any conversion. No wonder they were ultimate Doluo. They knew exactly how to use their soul power to help others. Both Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong were able to withstand the pressure from the soul power because of their yin-yang complement soul cores. Their bodies had become a lot more resistant to these forces after forming their second soul cores. The four soul cores in their bodies absorbed the pure soul power greedily as Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong's cultivation improved rapidly. After 15 minutes, Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong's soul power suddenly rose to rank 96. In another hour, their soul power rose to rank 97. 2 hours later, they were rank 98. In less than 4 hours, their cultivations had increased to rank 98 with the help of the two ultimate Doluo. When they reached that point, Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong's hands were no longer holding onto each other anymore. Just like they had judged earlier, their Haodong power could no longer flow between them when their cultivation reached a certain tier. This was because it was too powerful. It was so strong that they themselves couldn't handle it anymore. It was only by letting go of each other's hands that the soul power circulating in their bodies would weaken. This would open up more places in their bodies to circulate the immense soul power of an ultimate Doluo. Although Long Xiaoyao and Yi Shishui transferred purified soul power into them, Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong only realized how dense ultimate Doluo soul power was when they received it. Their soul power felt completely boundless. Hui Yuhao was well aware that he and Tang Wutong might not win against either one of them even if they teamed up. It was much more likely that they would lose. The cultivations of these two individuals were simply too astonishing. As his soul power got stronger and stronger, Hui Yuhao's soul core started to gradually slow down. Hui Yuhao only felt that his body was ballooning more and more. It seemed like it could blow apart at any time. "I want to set a foundation for the establishment of your third soul core. You have a very strong foundation now. Your first soul core is in your brow, while your second soul core is in your chest. Your dantian is free for your third soul core to occupy. Next, your third soul core can only be space-type. Furthermore, your third soul core has to be woven in an alternatively up and down pattern. Finally, your three soul cores should be well connected and well linked to one another to maximize their real power. I can't help you with the final circulation, but I can help you build a foundation in your dantian. In the future, what you have to do is link this third soul core with your other two soul cores. It's only through this that you can become an ultimate Doluo. As for how strong you will be then, I wouldn't know. I'll pray for you and Mu Yen from another world." Long Xiaoyao's voice appeared in Hui Yuhao's spiritual sea. Following this, Hui Yuhao sensed that the soul power pouring into his body by Long Xiaoyao had surged to his dantian. At the same time, some of it had separated and isolated the area above his chest. His cultivation is simply boundless. It's too powerful. An outline of small soul cores was quickly constructed. Hui Yuhao's two other soul cores were isolated and felt nothing. The circulation of soul power in his dantian was the same as that at his brow area. Hui Yuhao had never considered the problem of how to make three soul cores circulate in tandem with one another. However, it would become an important consideration from now on. Even though Long Xiaoyao didn't mention it, Hui Yuhao knew that his three soul cores would bring him a lot of problems in the future if he didn't take them into consideration. Tang Wutong's body was also filled with soul power right now. However, she was in a more troublesome situation. This was because her first soul core was already in her dantian, even though her second soul core was in her brow. Only her chest could contain her third soul core. Her chest was where the soul power from her two current soul cores interacted. Her whirlpool-like soul power was generated there. How was she going to outline her third soul core? After pondering over it for a moment, Yi Shishui shared her thoughts with Long Xiaoyao. Long Xiaoyao had already helped Hui Yuhao with his third soul core. After he heard Yi Shishui's words, he immediately stood up and came in front of Tang Wutong. He sat cross-legged in front of her and clasped his palms with her. He took the front, while Yi Shishui took the back. Tang Wutong was at the center. Long Xiaoyao said, "It's impossible for her to construct her third soul core in this condition. We can only put her in the same situation as Yuhao before there's any possibility of completion. That's why we have to shift the positions of her soul cores." Yi Shishui couldn't help but laugh when she heard Long Xiaoyao's words. "That's a good idea. I didn't expect us to team up together to do something good one day. It's a great feeling. Let's begin then. I'll lift her while you protect her. If we can't succeed, there's no one else in this world who can. Even if we don't, there's no danger. Wasn't she right? Even Di Qian could only win against one of them. If they both fought him at the same time, he might not actually win." Tang Wutong's soul core in her dantian was slowly lifted up and gradually transferred to her chest. Long Xiaoyao's scales slowly turned blood red, while Yi Shishui's body turned illusory. Hui Yuhao sat where he was cross-legged. He silently sensed the changes in his body. The soul power in both his soul cores was already fully nourished. His third soul core had started to form, but it was isolated. The power used to isolate his third soul core was a seal implanted in his body by Long Xiaoyao. As long as it wasn't removed, it would continue to isolate his third soul core. However, once it was broken, he had to immediately try to fuse his three soul cores. Otherwise, he was bound to die once there was any chaos in his body. Even though he had directly absorbed Long Xiaoyao's soul power, there was still a part of it that he couldn't absorb yet. As an ultimate Dolor, Long Xiaoyao's soul power was like essence. He had filtered out the elemental type of his soul power, but still transferred quite a lot of it to Hui Yuhao. As a result, Hui Yuhao couldn't absorb all his soul power. His body couldn't take it yet, not even though he was already so strong. This was because rank 98 was already close to the extreme, while rank 99 was the human limit. When he reached this tier, he fully understood the problems that came with great power. Hui Yuhao's senses were becoming more and more acute. Every minor change that happened to his internal soul power was stirring. It felt as if he might blow apart and die if he didn't control his soul power well. The extra soul power was compressed in his dantian by Long Xiaoyao. It was where his third soul core was going to be. Hui Yuhao didn't know how much soul power was going to be in his third soul core. He didn't even dare to use his spiritual power to check. He had to get used to his rank 98 soul power before he could gradually control it. He could only try to form his third soul core after everything was clear. Otherwise, if he catalyzed a war between his current two soul cores and his third soul core, he was the only one who was going to suffer. Whether it was Long Xiaoyao or Yi Shishui, they had never faced this issue with a third soul core before. They were only trying things out, but it was an experiment that couldn't fail. This was because the experiments were conducted on Hui Yuhao and Tang Wutong's bodies. If they failed, the two of them would be wiped out. Tang Wutong's condition was gradually stabilizing. Even Yi Shishui and Long Xiaoyao felt that this was a little weird. Tang Wutong's passageways were very smooth. They didn't meet with any trouble at all. Furthermore, Tang Wutong's control was also very immaculate. She wasn't in any danger at all. Because of this, it was much easier for them to pour in their soul power into her. After Long Xiaoyao returned to Hui Yuhao's side, he poured his remaining soul power into him. Hui Yuhao's third soul core slowly took form. The whirlpool became bigger and bigger, before it started to compress inward. Very soon, Hui Yuhao saw a pure white entity appear. The reason why it was white was because it didn't have any elemental type. Hui Yuhao had to give it an elemental type in the future. It was terrifying. At least this was what Hui Yuhao thought. What if he failed? Of course, he knew that he could quickly make a breakthrough to become an ultimate Dolur after he absorbed Long Xiaoyao's soul power. However, without a doubt, it was much more dangerous for external soul power to surge into his body compared to the surge of his own soul power in his body. Of course, everything was relative. If he relied on himself to cultivate and form his third soul core, he would certainly face the issue of a lack of soul power. With an ultimate Dolur setting the foundation for him now, he would not meet such a problem in the future. Since he had already decided, he could only carry on like this. It was such a rare opportunity. To Hui Yuhao, he wasn't very excited. Rather, he was extra careful. Time passed second by second. Hui Yuhao was consistently sensing the changes to the soul power in his body. Fortunately, everything was proceeding very smoothly. The barrier that Long Xiaoyao had placed in his chest was very solid. It didn't waver at all. The soul power that was pouring into his body grew fainter. After that, it became weaker. Finally, Hui Yuhao's body entered a state of calm when the last streak of soul power was poured into his body. As he opened his eyes, Hui Yuhao immediately turned to look behind him. He only saw Long Xiaoyao smiling behind him. Right now, Long Xiaoyao was much more elderly than he normally looked. Wrinkles were all over his face. Yi Shishui was in a different state compared to him. Only a dim projection of her was left behind. Even her appearance was unclear by now. This video will end here.